Hey there, fans of Murder and Mayhem! Welcome back to Frybox 64 Productions, our 31 days of Halloween attempt. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Frybox 64, and we are back with another movie review. I have been trying to keep up with uploads, which has not been easy. My brother surprised me by coming back into town this week, so I missed an upload, but we're gonna try to get a double upload this weekend. But anyway, I thought that I would go ahead and do a movie review for you guys today. And today we're going to be talking about the Korean film, I believe, #Alive. And so this follows a young, I believe, Korean fellow. In the movie, his name is Junwoo Oh. And he is I'd say a typical streamer wannabe. Like, it's uncertain whether he lives by himself or with his family. I think he lives on his own, but he's kind of like I don't know if he has a job or whatnot, but he's definitely a gamer, and we follow this guy as he tries to survive a zombie outbreak in Seoul. I believe it's Seoul. He lives in this tiny little cramped apartment complex, which means there are a lot of people crammed into one small area, and which means that's not good if you're trying to survive in a zombie situation. So we're gonna kind of go over the movie, and we're going to kind of talk about some things that I really connected with this movie and what I thought was good and if I recommend it. So without further ado, let's get into Alive. So the movie starts out with our main character, Junwoo Oh, and he's hanging out at home, just getting up, ready to do some gaming. His parents have apparently come to visit with his sister, but they left, and they're gonna come back later on, that sort of thing. Then 3 minutes into the movie, we are hit with a zombie outbreak happening. And they never refer to the creatures as zombies, they refer to them as infected, because apparently it is taboo to call actual zombies what they are in modern zombie films. I mean, they're called everything but the actual zombies, which is kind of something that really gets on my nerves. But anyway, so it starts out with him watching the zombie apocalypse happening. He's watching people running from zombies, people turning into zombies. He watches a girl turn into a zombie and eat her mother right in front of his face. And he winds up with an unexpected visitor when his next door neighbor runs into the apartment. And he gets to witness firsthand what happens when you get bitten by one of these things. Because the neighbor, about 3 to 5 minutes after coming into the apartment, winds up turning into a zombie. And you can definitely tell that there was some editing that was done. The film was edited to look really choppy and unnatural when he was turning, so like arms flailing in different directions, bending forward, bending back, bending into weird positions, and it was meant to look like really like jarring and unnatural, and that got the effect that it was going for, because it did look really creepy. Like, not like your typical zombie where you just flop down on the floor and you die and then you sit back up and you shamble. No. So after kicking the neighbor out of the apartment, Junwoo barricades himself in the apartment by shoving the refrigerator in front of the door, which honestly I don't know how it's still working if it's not plugged into an outlet. Maybe it's a smart fridge that just operates on its own, or maybe there's an extremely long extension cord, I don't know. But he spends the next couple days trying to stay holed up in his apartment. He's witness to a policewoman getting chased down and murdered by zombies. Very traumatic experience. He tries to pass the time by watching TV, by gaming, and eventually, bit by bit, the power goes off, the water shuts off. Everything just bit by bit goes off, and he's trying to get in touch with his family. The last text message that he gets from his dad before this whole thing, before there's radio silence, is, "My son, you must survive." And for me, that really rung home with me, because that sounded like something that my own dad would say to me in a situation like that. So Junwoo is motivated by this, by his father basically saying you have to stay alive, and so he tries. He does his best. The news is telling him that he needs to stay indoors, let this whole thing ride out, and have at least 60 days worth of food and water on hand. Junwoo is the poster child for bachelor, which means he has maybe condiments, maybe a few soft drinks, and not a whole lot of food on hand. And sitting there watching him try to ration out his food for each day is just like, it's depressing, and it really drives home like, yeah, this is a bachelor. He was not prepared for this at all. So then about day maybe 6 or 8 or so, that is when a bigger zombie gets into his apartment somehow. It just, I don't know, I guess the locks are really bad on the apartment or something, but it got into the apartment, just ripped the door off the hinges practically and forced its way in. When it did that, it knocked the fridge over and knocked out all of Junwoo's food. So Junwoo runs out of food by about day 5 or 6 or so. He winds up subsisting on alcohol, which is very evident when it shows the various music montages as he goes from dancing and raving to his wireless headphones to hallucinating his family coming home and him like munchy eating like all the food that he has left. And it's, yeah, it really rips your gut out about almost halfway in when when he's wishing his family would come home, but they're not there, and he still doesn't know where they are or if they're even gonna come back. And he just flops on the floor and just cries and bawls his eyes out. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, I've been there before. It's not fun at all. But then he gets a voicemail from his family, and he thinks, oh, well, maybe they're alive, maybe they're home. And he's like leaning out his apartment window with like a selfie stick, trying so hard to get a signal on his phone, because there's no networks, there's no TV, there's no internet, there's nothing, no phone signal. And so he's like trying to get a phone signal desperately, and what he hears is his family dying on the other end of the phone, basically. It starts out with his parents saying, we're at your dad's office, we're gonna come back and get you, don't go outside, we'll come get you, we've got your sister here, we're all coming. And then the zombies get into the office, and you hear his family screaming, and his sister screaming for help, and you know they're dead. You know they died. And that is just the last straw for Junwoo. He goes outside his apartment, he runs through the halls of the apartment, and it looks for a split second like he really wants the zombies to take him. Like before he goes out in the apartment, out into the like actual apartment building, he is trashing like everything in his specific little apartment. He's throwing things around, he knocks the TV over, and then like he ends his tirade by slamming the door open on the face of some poor unsuspecting zombie, just walking along and then poof. So that was one moment of comedy at least. But then Junwoo decides that once he sees a horde of zombies coming after him, no, he doesn't want to die after all. So then he runs into one set of zombies, and then he turns around and runs into another set of zombies, and then he goes to the elevator. More zombies everywhere! And I'm sitting here, I'm like, how many people can you cram into one apartment building and still have all these zombies? I'm like, how are they still, like, subsisting? What are they subsisting on? Are they eating each other? Are they eating things that they get outside? What is going on? But movie logic. And honestly, those apartments are so cramped, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if you had that many people crammed into one apartment complex. So I guess it makes sense. But he gets back to his room, back to his apartment. It's about day 15 or so, and he's pretty much just had it. There are a couple times where he tries to stream videos to his subscribers. It's not very specific what platform he streams on, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, some other sort of maybe Korean-based streaming service, I don't know, but he apparently has subscribers, and so he sometimes sends a couple of videos being like, well, I'm stuck here, I don't know if I'm gonna make it type thing. But the last video he records, he just like sits there and smiles like this. And you seriously think that the thing has stalled. You seriously think that the camera or the movie has glitched. And then he's like, well, goodbye. And then he goes to try to hang himself. And that's, no. But at the very last minute before he hangs himself, he's stopped by a girl who lives in the apartment across the quad from him. She's able to distract him with a laser pointer, basically, and is like, no, don't do it, I'm still alive. And so together, they try to work together to keep each other fed, keep each other's spirits up. When the other gal across the way, her name is Yubin Kim, she gives him some food and water because he's run out of food. He goes out and does some scavenging in the middle of the night to try to get more food for her. They start taking care of each other, and we learn a little bit more about Yubin. She's a climber. She is scared of heights, and she thinks that they can escape to the 8th floor of the apartment complex and stay up there, maybe, while the zombies are all kind of in the floors down below. They're not sure if the zombies know how to specifically use an elevator or the stairs, but they figure it's safe enough. There is a very scary sequence of events where right before, when they're talking about their plans and they're talking back and forth on their walkie-talkies, they think they hear a thunderstorm, and no. That is the footsteps of the infected. They're on the move. Why are they moving? Where are they going? Do they think there is food somewhere? Are they migrating? I don't know. They don't get very specific with why they're all of a sudden moving. But it's terrifying. And both of them hit the deck. Except Yubin hits the deck a bit more noisily than Junu and winds up getting their attention. And there's a very, very, very tense moment where all the zombies are like right outside Yubin's door. And it's only due to Junu's quick thinking and calling the unit next to hers that distracts them from her, that keeps her alive. So then they decide, okay, yeah, no, we're gonna go to the 8th floor. We're gonna get out of here. So, and before all this happened, there were hints at a military presence going around. There were, I think it was around day 15 or so, day 16, somewhere in that area. The military started carpet bombing Seoul. Like Junu went to his window, he looks outside, and there's just like explosions off in the distance outside his window, and then all the lights go off, all the power goes off, everything's just dead. So it's like, oh, they're carpet bombing Seoul. This is how bad it's getting. That's great. So whether there's a military presence coming or not, whether there's somebody coming to rescue them or not, they try to get to the 8th floor of the apartment complex. And what follows is an absolutely epic action sequence where Yubin jumps out of her apartment window, and then Junu jumps out of his apartment window, and they're both like fighting zombies, and they're running, and it's just a mad panic dash to get out of there and run up the stairs, and Junu is armed with a golf club, and Yubin has nothing but a hand axe, and the two of them are going up against zombies, and they're somehow winning, and it's just it was a very tense action sequence. Like, if you want to know how bad it was, like, I bite my lips sometimes when I'm nervous, when I'm nervously like watching something, or if I get really into something. I bit my lips so hard during that action sequence that my lips swelled up several sizes too big, and I had to go to bed with a swollen lip because I bit my lip so hard. So then they get up to the 8th floor, where they meet another survivor. And this next bit, I'm not gonna. Well, if you don't want to have spoilers, don't watch this next bit. Fast forward to, I'd say give it a couple more minutes and then jump back in. I'll try to get a timestamp there. But basically they find another survivor who helps them get away from the zombies that are chasing them. But it turns out, surprise, surprise, he's got his zombie wife trapped in the kids' room, and he's trying to feed the two of them to her because she needs live flesh to eat, basically. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, there's your wife. There's the children's room. You actively had children in that room because everything is clean, nothing is dusty. You actively had children in that room. Where are the children? You seriously fed your children to your wife because you wanted to keep her zombie ass alive? No, I was not okay with that whatsoever. Like, at first I thought when they got into his apartment, okay, he's a nice guy. I got Jackie Chan vibes off of him. He seemed like the kind of guy that would help. No, this is the kind of guy that feeds his kids to his wife. I was like, no. This guy deserves whatever he gets. And yes, Junwoo and Yubin managed to turn the tables on him and get his wife to eat him. Then they capped both his wife and him in the head. And I was so happy, proud of that. I was like, yeah, good. They both deserve it. Yeah, I'm not upset about that at all. Why are you thinking I'm upset? I'm not upset. So then after that, the zombies are still coming. They have learned from this former survivor that there is a military rescue that's coming. And so they're like, they look out the windows and they see the choppers. And insert Arnold here, get to the chopper. So they're like, we gotta get out. And at first Yubin is like, just go ahead, shoot us, end us now. There's no way we're gonna make it. And Junwoo is like, no, we gotta go make it. We gotta survive. The choppers are right out there. We can get to them. And so again, it's another mad dash to the roof. Junwoo is like at one point holding off a horde of zombies with nothing but a bicycle. A bicycle. Not even the golf club anymore. He's just using like brute strength and a bicycle to hold these things back. And when Yubin gets up to the roof, she sees that all the helicopters have left, and she's just about lost it. She about breaks down because there is just like no hope left at this point. And Junwoo manages to block the zombies for a few more minutes. He gets up to the roof, realizes that the choppers aren't coming back, and it's just several minutes of hopelessness as they watch the zombies in slow-mo like come out onto the roof, come charging towards them. They're looking around trying to find, well, maybe there's another set of stairs down, maybe there's another roof we could jump to, maybe we could jump down, and there's just no way out. They've trapped themselves in a corner, basically. And just when it looks like it's about to have the same ending as Train to Busan, one of my favorite horror movies ever, tables get turned, and all of a sudden a military chopper just comes rising up like above the edge of the building and just fires on the zombies. And they get Junwoo, they get Yubin into the helicopter. Nobody gets bitten. They don't lose any military men to the zombies. They don't pull a military person out and eat them. Everybody that's living on that roof and in that helicopter makes it out alive. And I was just shocked because I truly thought that it was going to be another Train to Busan where you were going to be like rooting for the main characters the entire way, and then they don't make it. But no, I was completely surprised. They made it. And there's a little voiceover at the end where it talks about how people are, like, power and networks are starting to be restored. The military is coming through looking for survivors. People are being encouraged to post on social media where they are so that way people can come and look for them. And apparently Junwoo, when he way back at the beginning of the movie took a picture of himself and posted himself with his apartment number and his address and everything onto social media, he had put in there hashtag I must survive, and that, I guess, was the hashtag that they were using to try to get attention to their posts. But then at the end of the movie, that gets like backspace that gets erased, and then it switches to hashtag alive, and it's such a cool ending. I love the ending to that. It didn't make me cry. It made me come close to crying, but didn't make me cry. So how do I feel about the movie? I liked it, honestly. Like, I love Asian and Korean horror movies because it's not all just about, like, the violence and the gore. There's psychological aspects that go into it as well. And there were so many elements about the movie that I thought rang true to our current situation. Having to stay inside and avoid a pandemic, not knowing what's going on in the outside world with your family, trying to play games and trying to satiate your boredom with alcohol, games, TV, and sleep. That is really similar to where we're at right now with our current situation, and I think it speaks volumes as to where everybody's mental state is right now. But it also has that element of hope, because at the very end, the military does come back. The main characters do survive, and it gives that message of, yes, things are bad right now. You might think you're running out of food. You might think that you're never going to see your family again. Everything might look bad, but we are resourceful. We are good thinkers. We can outsmart whatever virus or whatever thing this is, and we must survive. We will survive, and we are alive. So I don't know if that was the message going into the movie when they originally made it. Originally, I think it was based off of a book. So given when the book was written, I don't know a whole lot about that, but that might not have been the message that was being sent, but that is definitely a message that you can take away from this. After watching, after watching the movie. A couple things that I actually really kind of identified with were with Junu's dad, where he sent a message to his son saying, "You must survive." That actually made me think of my own dad. Years ago, we were crossing the Mississippi River. We were going to go to a reunion with a bunch of our old coworkers from an old job, and as we're driving across the river, it's cold, it's dark, it's at night, it's in the middle of winter, and my dad, just out of the blue, asks me, if we go into the river, what's your survival plan? And I was just shocked. I just kind of turned to him and I was like, Dad, it's winter. Weird question, first off, but second off, if we go in the water, I'm pretty sure I'm going to die of hypothermia before I ever reach the surface. It's like, I'm gonna die within the first couple minutes. And my dad was like, no, you wouldn't. Because you have to survive. You have to live. You have to make it. And he pointed out, as we were driving across the river, he pointed out this little bit of land that was kind of poking up out of the middle of the river. And he said we would swim for that little island and we would call for help and we'd wait for help. And he goes, you have to survive. You have to live no matter what. You can't give up. And so the dad telling Junu, you must survive, that made me think of my own dad. And that really was the connecting force with me. And then later on, when Junu was hallucinating about his family, he had a little family photo. Like, his family, even though we didn't get to see them very much during the movie, his family was important to him. And I honestly, like, his family matched up really well with mine. His parents could have been the Korean versions of my parents. Like, honestly, like they're like, oh, you should get more groceries. We're gonna go get your family member. We're gonna go get, I don't have any sisters, but be like, we're gonna go get your brother. Stay inside the house. We're gonna come get you. Don't worry. Those are all things that my mom and dad would have told me. If a zombie apocalypse happened, those are all things that my mom and dad would have told me. They would have gotten the family together. We all would have come together and we all would have tried to outlast this thing together. And even though in the movie that didn't happen, it really reminded me a lot of my own family. And yeah. But yeah, so overall, I'd say give it a watch. Honestly, it's a good movie. Of course, there's like the blood and there's like the undead aspect. They never really talk about what turns the zombies. They mention that there's like an ultra fine level of dust that's higher than usual, but it's not really for sure if that connects it to the zombie virus or whatever. The zombies themselves, typical zombies, you know, dead eyes, dead skin, blood everywhere. They do tend to run with their arms like straight back and out behind them at awkward angles. So I'm just sitting there watching a group of them like walk past the hallway, and I'm like, they're Naruto runners. Okay, I guess that works. But yeah, overall, I'd say good job. I'd say the effects were cool. The effects were good. The acting was very good. Yes, it is dubbed. It is dubbed, and of course Netflix gives the subtitles. I watched this on Netflix, so but you could probably find like the actual original Korean version of it. You could probably find it somewhere. You could probably find a real copy of it somewhere. But yeah, overall, I'd say very good watch. Give it a watch. Absolutely. This is I think exactly what we need during this pandemic. This is exactly what people need to be seeing to give them a bit more hope. Especially during spooky month. Well, thank you all for joining me as I talk about this movie here. If you like what you saw, feel free to give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. If you want me to do more movie reviews, let me know in the comments below. Or if you want me to go into more detail about some aspects from the movie, start a discussion down in the comments. That'd be great. And as I always say, it is not necessary, but it does help me and the channel out quite a bit. And if you know anybody who would like it, feel free to share it with them. And hopefully tomorrow we will see you again for more murder, mayhem, and maiming for Spooky Month. Bye, everybody!